taken out of that account and credited to another account, and it's to show $6,000 in the other account. And I can honestly say I don't know the accounts by nomenclature, but I know them by number. And there's a recital here that you're being asked to approve tonight, which is your general operating purposes. And so you're taking a zero out of one account, or have an account with zero to start with, and you're going to debit a zero account by $6,000 to flush out money and provide money to another account. I have a real fundamental problem with how you're going to make this sell with Pat Wagner with your audit.
Connie, you want to explain
Okay.
that?
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think you should leave the accounting to me. And your word in that line item that says debit, it should be a credit, but I did not change it because that's exactly what you asked me to change in order for you not to table these ordinance.
No, ma'am.
So, sir, it does not have any money in there, and the budget amendment is increasing that line item. So money will be put in there. And absolutely, I can assure you that I will not have a line item with a zero balance or a negative balance on it.
Okay, so Mayor, I do recommend that we table this at this time, and we can come back to you later date.
I so move that we table it.
Account that we're gonna do that everything else. And it does have-
It doesn't have a minus balance in there because we spent money on it already.
Okay, motion to table, please.
I did.
Second?
I think Councilman Tahada? is that
Yes.
your name?
I'll second.
And give it those seconds. Councilman Ortiz?
Yes.
Councilman Nieto?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion to table, 5-0.
Second, Mayor.
Councilman Guerrero. Okay, now. Item D, consideration and action to approve budget amendment number 4, utility billing equipment purchased.
Yes, ma'am, this is equipment that we have purchased and we're asking to do budget amendment after the fact. We had an emergency right around Christmas time that a piece of equipment that folds and stuff the envelopes for utility bills went out. We couldn't get it fixed with the wires. The gears were broken, and so we had to purchase the equipment. I believe 2 billing cycles went out. That staff, and actually I helped actually literally fold each one. I don't know if you know, but we sent out over 3,000 pieces of mail in a billing cycle. And so this is to actually to do an amendment for purchases, for equipment that has already been purchased.
So we've already purchased this?
Yes. We had
Needed
to.
to be purchased.
We had, it folds
The
stuff.
ordinance is correct?
I don't know, I have to look.
That's me.
Yes, everything in there is fine. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything on this one.
It's okay.
It's ratification after the fact, and you've got to do it.
You know, I wasn't gonna say anything, but it just bothers me too much. We did it in Christmas, here we are in April, and it's taken that long to bring it forward. Please don't let this happen.
We
need
won't,
to-
but what we're trying to do, we had an audit in between that. I remember when you all happened in Christmas, we were only meeting once a month.
I know, and a lot of stuff has been falling in the.
No, but you only been meeting, you were only meeting once a month, October, November, December, you all only met once a month.
Yeah.
And so then we got it back and we're trying to get it to audit, but we're gonna make sure that we're trying not to do this after the fact without council approval.
Thank you.
I so move to approve budget amendment number 4, utility billing equipment purchase, ordinance number 2015-005.
Did I have any citizens' comments on this one before? Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Nieto, may I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Okay, second by Councilman Ortiz. Councilman Tejada, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Guerrero?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Now we're going to go on to item E, consideration and action to approve budget amendment number 5, Plaza Well repairs.
Okay, back in October and November, when we had those clogs at the Plaza Well that we needed to address immediately, we came and we asked for approval to do those repairs. because due to the preparation to closing of the year, doing the audit, I did advise you that I didn't have an audit, budget amendment at that point, but I was gonna come to a later date with a budget amendment. So that's what this is for. So that way we can go ahead and replenish the money. Because these repairs happened early in the year, we had the money to cover for that, but now we need to replenish so we can continue, with other repairs.
Let me say something about the plaza repairs. John, you remember about 5.5 years ago, this came to council, and you were part of the council that voted no? We wouldn't be having these problems now if you would have voted right 5.5 years ago. Same thing with the sewer plant. We voted 4 years ago to build a new sewer plant. When the new council came on board, you were the ones who voted no to stop the sewer plant, remember? Now we're going back to the same USDA plan. And
I'm gonna say that we need
I
to
just have
stop
to say
going
that.
to the past. We need to look forward to the future. We know what mistakes were done. We need to correct them and go forward.
I agree with you, Madam Mayor. We should move forward. This bickering and
Exactly.
backstabbing everybody else, what they did, what they didn't do,
Doesn't stand a
it's
chance.
not gonna fix nothing.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, before you make the motion, may I suggest, if I'm understanding Ms. Moreno, the manager, the presentation tonight, and I do remember, believe it or not, I'm the one that said you could have a 2-hour emergency council meeting. That's the only council meeting, the only public body meeting that I've ever approved for 2 hours' notice in my whole professional career. And I believe that there was an urgent situation. So I do think this needs to be ratified. It may be a little late, but I do think it needs to be ratified, and I'm assuming this is coming out of some kind of capital account
Capital fund?
that we're gonna have to pay back.
We use some out of the regular operating.
No, we took it out of, she said the operating budget, what we took it out of. The operating budget.
Okay, so it's gonna go back into operating?
Yes.
Yes, which is why it's so important for us.
But it's gonna be on the books as a reimbursement.
Ma'am?
Is that what you call the reserve balance draw? in the
Yes.
Water and sewer department?
Yes, because we're taking out of the fund balance to put back in there. So this is an original increase on the budget for utilities.
But the, excuse me if I may, for inquiry for the record, the account number we're showing at $71,673.95 in debt.
Yes.
We're gonna remove $100,000 from that, which is gonna increase that to a debt of $171,000. And then we're gonna move that $100,000 to another account. What's the distinction between the two accounts for the record?
The $100,000 are gonna be posted into the negative 71,000. So it's not gonna put it on the negative more, it's actually increasing it.
So I can put that positive 28,000 some change, I guess?
Yes.
Okay, and what are the,
Your wording in this document that you forward to us and we needed to follow, it's incorrect. But I didn't wanna move anything, I didn't wanna change anything because that's what you recommended for us to use.
Ms. Moreno, I recommended a simple deal to show the council what account the money comes out of and what account the money goes into. And all I'm asking is, are we gonna end up having to owe a repayment to that account? Or is that a permanent transfer to the new account? So the records will show that.
It's a permanent transfer.
Can I ask you real quick? Because what you're saying, Ms. Moreno, whether, I don't know who said what, but on where it says amount to be debited, that should say amount to be credited,
Okay,
right?
in accounting, when you're making a payment, it's a debit to an expenditure account. But when you're increasing the budget, it's a credit to an expenditure account. So this wording is incorrect because we are not paying out money,
Yeah.
we're increasing the budget. So it's supposed to be a credit to this account, not a debit.
So then are you saying when we get audited, this is gonna be incorrect, or we're gonna get dinged for this, or?
When you approve it?
No, well, like, if we get audited, because the way this is worded, I
No,
understand it's
no, no, because the auditors understand the wording.
worded. Okay, so
Yes.
we're fine.
Yeah,
We
we're
have to go
fine.
back and redo this?
No,
Okay.
no, they understand what's going on.
May I have a motion?
I make a motion to
Plaza Wall repairs, ordinance number 2015-006.
You have to read the May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Guerrero, second by Councilman Rodriguez. Councilman Tejada, how do you vote?
I'm gonna vote no.
Councilman Ortiz?
No.
Councilman Nieto?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 3-2. Okay, budget's out of the way, right? Now we're gonna go on to item F, consideration and action to appoint member to the 4A board.
Yes, Mayor. At a previous meeting, the council appointed Ms. Paige Pullen to the 4A. When staff reached out to contact her, she declined the appointment. And so there's still a vacancy there on that board, and there was already another, so there's 2 vacancies on that board. I spoke to the secretary, city secretary. We haven't received any new applications, and we did receive another resignation from that board. I believe Ms. Leanne Rose actually submitted her
I don't think
resignation.
we can mention that.
No, this will be presented to you another time, so I'm saying, we haven't had any new.
So we have 2 vacancies, including Mr. Rose, or 3?
No, you have 3.
No, we have 3.
Three?
No.
It's
No.
two.
It'll be
I'm sorry,
two.
it's just 2. It's just a 2.
Since there have been no new names, can we table it there until the next?
There's been no new names.
Well,
I think we have someone,
If you all have somebody to nominate for the one position, we can do that tonight. The other one has to be addressed at another council.
I believe Mrs. Cervantes is interested in the position. Or more, I'm sorry, Stephanie Moore.
You're always going to be Cervantes. Is that a motion for you, Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes, I'd like to appoint Stephanie Moore to the 4A board.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Rodriguez, second by Councilman Guerrero. Councilman Nieto, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Nieto? I'm sorry. It's getting late.
Why does he get to vote twice?
Councilman
Yes.
Councilman Ortiz?
Yes.
Councilman Tejada?
Yes.
There you go. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Moore. There. Okay, now we're going to go on to item G, consideration and action to approve a resolution replacing the City of Floresville investment policy by adopting the draft presented March 26, 2015.
Yes, Mayor. This was presented at our last city council meeting. However, for the record, we need to strike out there's a director of finance. We don't have one on the one that we actually adopt. This was a draft that was presented, one for TML. We're hoping to present to you at a later date a person that talks about investment policy advisor, but we need to pass this. Every year we need to upgrade it, but this one hasn't been done. Do you see that on there, Lou, when we didn't take up that out? Okay.
And you can also put,
Yeah, we want to switch city manager and then comptroller. Do you see? It's just, I think it's on page 1.
Second page,
the first
oh,
page.
In the policy itself.
on the policy,
Yeah.
under D,
So it needs to say the city
delegation of
manager,
authority.
the city
That's the only
manager,
change we made.
and
City manager,
then the comptroller.
and no financial director, because we don't have one. That was the only change that I received, so we're asking that you adopt it. Do you have anything we remember to the
I
adoption?
do, just put this as form, and that is, I want to try and make sure that when we pass something, we have a covering ordinance, which we do, and we've had it sit on the table since the last council meeting. We've made the change on page 2G, which is appropriate, but I'd like to add a signature page on this and a secretary's certificate on this tonight, so we can immediately adopt this, because we're required to have one of these in effect at all times.
She has that documentation, so the secretary can sign that.
We're going to approach the mayor on it if we get a motion in a second.
Can we just write it on the investment policy, Lou, the corrections that they want?
We'll ask for the motion to allow us to substitute a corrected page 1 with the language the manager just proposed, and the balance of the policy to be adopted as is, with the signature page attached to the back.
So moved.
Is that your motion, Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes, I'll put that in the motion.
Okay.
And the reason I'm bringing this to you is so that we can get this done on the night of the meeting, so we don't have to chase around later and then find out we didn't get it signed.
Do you want me to say this?
We don't have a motion, though.
Well, let's get a motion first.
We have a
There's a
motion.
motion by Mr. Rodriguez.
I have a motion by Councilman Rodriguez. May I have a second? To accept this with the pages, one corrected and the adopted signature on the last page. Second, please.
Is that enough in here?
Yes, I just need a second, please.
I second the motion.
Okay. Councilman Rodriguez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Guerrero?
Yes.
Councilman Ortiz?
Yes.
Being very careful. And Councilman Tejada?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, now on to item H, consideration and action to issue a resolution requesting the FEDC comply with the terms of its formation and develop present and implement a parks improvement program, including prioritization of individual projects and estimated budget for each project. Are you going to speak to that?
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor? May I have the floor?
Can't have
Okay. I would like to make an amendment on our resolution on number 1. An order list of projects including a new sports complex to be accomplished by the FEDC, prioritizing in terms of urgency and impact on the public welfare. That's my amendment.
Did you get your
Could I ask you to state that one more time, sir?
Are you amending that? You're adding that in there?
Correct.
On the resolution.
On the resolution.
Can you read the whole thing? It's in
On number 1.
number 1 on the decree
Correct.
language.
Correct. An ordered list of projects including a new sports complex to be accomplished by the FEDC, prioritizing in terms of urgency and impact on the public welfare. That's my amendment on number 1 on the resolution.
He's got it written down. Can I have that so I can write it? You wrote it down right?
I got it.
Yeah, 2H. No, he's on 2H.
That's not
and-
proper.
So 2H under the resolution, first page,
Right.
under number 1, where it's got 1, 2, and 3.
Correct.
He's just making it.
Yeah. Myself and Councilor Ortiz sponsored this item, and I passed out, I've got a couple extra copies here if anybody else wants one, but this was put on the ballot on May of 1996 for the 4B board, the 4B sales tax. And under that, let me read you it says, "For gets proposition, the adoption of a section 4B sales and use tax at the rate of 0.5% to undertake projects as described in section 4B of Article 5190-6, including but not limited to projects for the promotion of professional and amateur athletics and sports, including stadiums, ballparks, auditoriums, and projects related to entertainment, convention, tourist, exhibition facilities, amphitheaters, concert halls, and public parks. Park facilities and events, open space improvements, learning centers, municipal buildings and improvements, public safety facilities, recycling facilities, museums and related store, restaurant, concession, and automobile parking facilities, and projects to promote new or expand new businesses, enterprises, including demolition of existing structures, related area, transportation, facilities, and related roads, streets, drainage, water, and sewer facilities, as well as any other improvements or facilities that are related to any of the above projects and any other projects that the board determines will promote new or expanded business enterprises, and any maintenance and operating expenses on any of the above described projects." Now, this being said, I've set up before and commended the 4B for the work that they've done. I've asked them, this past year, times when I served before the council, as far as putting a plan together like this with the council, getting in contact with all the youth organizations in the area, whether it be Little League, Wildcats, soccer, everybody, The need for the fields is there. I mean, if you go to our city park right now, there's kids playing baseball right now at 9 o'clock because they've got one baseball field to play on. It's been that same baseball field since 1980. I mean, I think that was the first year that Little League actually started the baseball field. We used to play over on Goliad, and then they, decided to make the city park. So that same field's been in existence, for the last, 35 years. So this falls under the perfect realm of the 4B organization. Now, they've chosen past years to, their own projects on what they want to do. So basically, I think what we're doing here is just giving them somewhat of direction on what the council wants to see if we approve this, on expanding this, creating these parks. So it's well within their realm. I think the last year they allocated $15,000 for park improvement. I mean, if we keep doing that at that rate, we're never going to see anything happen to our current parks. And we all know what's going on with the erosion and everything else at the city park. So the time is now. So Mr. Ortiz has added the sports facility, and that's not to say that we've got something laid out already, some plan. It's something we need to work on together. I know Ms. Henrietta has some drawings that have been presented in the past that we need to look at. But between the city, the 4B, and then the organizations using these parks and facilities, we need to come with a plan to improve our parks. So that's what I'm proposing here today, and Mr. Ortiz, is that we start this process and we move it forward today, and not wait for the next budget cycle that we start moving on this today, because it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
Madam Mayor,
I think you on number one.
number one, correct.
How would this affect any other projects that the EDC is doing?
It's an urgency, Councilman Rodriguez.
I can't
That
speak,
wasn't the question.
I'm sorry, I
Well,
can't,
I'm answering it for you.
I can't speak to the 4A's projects or purpose, what they've been doing. I know that they've started their projects, they've been working and focusing on, since I've been here, the industrial park and the street that's in and under construction and going forward. But I can't speak to what other projects that they have going on. I mean, they have some projects going on with, they're doing a breakfast alliance with businesses, and they've been working on marketing, and I know they presented to you, retail strategies, and they haven't selected someone as of yet. But when I spoke to Councilman Nieto, I thought his and Councilman Ortiz, they were saying that they wanted to definitely have them to understand that one of their main purposes is to focus on the parks, and we need to have a plan. As I work with the Park Foundation, that's one of the things everybody keeps saying, we need a park plan. I don't have a plan. We have some older drawings that we had, and the mayor gave me some that she had in her office, but we don't have a plan. And so, from what I'm understanding from Councilman Nieto, is that he wants to remind them to bring them back to the basics, so to speak, that is definitely a need in the community. Industrial park's great, not in my ETJ, but we need to be able to focus on the parks, and that's one of their missions, so to speak.
Exactly. And as far as what projects they have going on right now, I mean, I can tell you because this year they actually formally present their budget to us. They did it at a workshop, but we never actually approved their budget. As far as the 4B, I think it was presented, I don't remember what type of workshop we had one day, but we never actually formally approved their budget. So we're just kind of redirecting their focus. I mean, at some point it's great, to bring in, all these new businesses, but at some point we've got to kind of level out and let these businesses prosper while they're here. I mean, we can only have so many lumber yards, so many pharmacies, so many restaurants.
But the problem is we're not seeing any new growth, any new businesses,
Yes.
They've,
Yes,
the
we have.
EDC had, Mr. Juan, you gonna let me speak or no?
Well, I'm just
Okay.
answering your,
Well, I
there's
mean-
no growth. Yes, there is.
But,
He's got the floor.
what I'm saying is that we're not seeing enough growth. Surrounding cities around us are flourishing. They're prospering on,
Like what city, Mr. Rodriguez?
Pleasanton for one.
Have you ever seen Pleasanton's park, or parks, or facilities?
Well, they're getting good funding out of it. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I'm just saying that
Pleasanton
they're not
has a
doing anything
bowling
else with
alley.
their money. Why not put it into the parks, is what I'm saying.
Pleasanton has a bowling alley also.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I understand as far as the businesses goes, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, we still have to, focus on our youth, and everything can't be about the almighty dollar, and about commercial, it can't all be about that.
I'm not speaking negative
No,
about it.
I know you're not. I'm just saying that.
I'm saying that, they've pushed businesses out and haven't brought anyone in. So why not pump the money into, from the EDC money for them to at least help out a little bit too, for the complexes or sports fields.
What are we getting right now on the 4B yearly fund? What's the amount?
800? 800?
4B. the
Or
sales
4B, what do they draw yearly?
Oh, yeah, it's about 300,000.
No,
No.
no, it's not.
4B's half, remember? So 600,000?
No, it's about 800.
I don't understand the question.
No, what does 4B collect in sales tax? How much did they collect last year?
From the half cent.
It's 300,000
No, it's not.
for that year.
No,
No,
no.
ma'am. No, it's not. No.
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Where's my budget?
What they collected for the, because we collect 50% and they collect
A quarter.
a quarter.
Because what did they,
No.
because the 4A collected about 300,000.
No,
It's about 7 or 8.
It's about 800,000.
about 7.
7 or 8.
Yes, sir.
So what I was getting to is, if it's, let's just say it's 700,000. So they allocated, what's 15,000 of 700,000? I mean, I'm just saying the percentage is being allocated to parks. It needs to be more. And I'm not saying it needs to be 70%, it needs to be 60%, but it has to be more than.
Because they have money,
Yeah.
they have money in that area.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere between 2 and 3% of the money they're collecting that's being allocated to parks. And if you look at the actual ballot that was approved, I mean, a lot of this talks about parks, sports facilities. I mean, the majority talks about that. It's not
But
until it gets
you
to the
do have
bottom.
to remember that most of the sales tax that are collected for 4B are being used to pay the debt.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, some of it, yeah, they don't have that much in that.
Right.
Mayor, if I may talk on this point, we keep on talking about bringing people to Floresville, and think about it on a personal level. When we go somewhere and spend the night, we're either gonna go see a sports venue, or we're gonna go see entertainment. I'm speaking for myself personally. If I'm gonna go somewhere, that's usually where I'm gonna spend the night and stay in a motel. Either to go see a sports team, or go see some entertainment. And I'm sorry, but look at what we're talking about. We're talking about knocking both of these things here in Floresville. From 2006, we've been talking about building a park. Our park is 35 years old. And I'm gonna repeat it, our population has more than tripled since then. We need to start looking at parks, not only to bring tourists in and visitors through tournaments and things, but residents too. As a young family with young children, those are things that people look for. The parks, the schools, the amenities around the town. And we're lacking that. So, you know how I feel about building a park or improving a park. I mean, it goes without saying, those are things that we need. But we're not neglecting our sewer. We're not neglecting our streets. We're not neglecting our water. So that's one thing that the public has to understand. All those things are still going on.
Yeah, we're proposing sales tax, not property tax.
Exactly, it's sales tax.
Sales tax collection for last year was $793.
So
Thank you.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
But that's not the.
It's getting close to a
Is that
minute.
the 4B?
Yeah.
That's only 4B.
That's only 4B.
So Eric, John, I asked that we all get on the same page on this. Let's all work
Did
together.
you hear me complain?
No, but I'm saying, look at like your bowling alley. Your bowling alley should be right here in Floresville. Because that's an amenity for families to do.
What do you think I'm complaining about, Danny?
Yeah, so it's 1.9% of their budget is being put
Let's
towards
make it
parks.
happen.
1.9.
1.9%.
That's a shame.
That's a shame, that's a headline right
That's a
there.
shame. Madam Mayor, what a lot of people do not realize here, safety is an issue. And growth is coming. It is here.
It's here.
Mayor, if I may, the only thing is that I have asked to be on the agenda for the 4B next meeting so that I can properly convey your decision tonight and give them your.
Were they aware that they were on the agenda tonight?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
They should be sitting right up.
Exactly.
I did let them know that they were on the agenda, but it is on their agenda for me to.
Please tell them it was a very big mistake.
And the thing is, Madam Mayor, these aren't personal agendas
No.
that we're proposing
Well,
here.
we do have
These are
representatives.
needs for the citizens of
Don't
Florida.
you think, Mr. Gonzalez,
I'm sorry?
that your head person should have been here?
I think so,
I
absolutely.
mean, you got this on your agenda, so you all need.
Yes.
We're about to
No,
take
wait a
all your
minute.
money. It's on you.
We haven't had a meeting yet. I haven't.
$1,000 a year.
Get with the seen, Mr. Gonzalez.
I get it in the mail and I don't get it until Saturday.
So I will let them, if I can repeat some of the things that you all have said, the strong urgency of this matter and the timeliness of this.
Okay, well, I'm going to entertain a motion.
I so move to issue resolution requesting the FEC comply with the terms of its formation and develop, present, and implement a parks improvement program, including prioritization of individual projects and estimated budget for each project, and also with the changes notated by Mr. Ortiz.
A second?
I have a motion by Councilman Nieto, second by Councilman Ortiz. Councilman Tejada? How do you vote?
Yes, yes.
Councilman Guerrero?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mayor Garza? Yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Mayor, on this item also, I have a certificate of the council action tonight for your execution. And again, because it does go to the other board, we wanted to not wait for minutes, but to have this set up so that it could go immediately with effect to the council.
Thank
You'll
you.
run away on this side.
And that's with permission that we make the change for the amendment, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you, Lou. And thank the council too. I appreciate it.
Okay, now we're going to go on to letter I, consideration and action to issue a 90-day termination letter to the American Legal Publishing. Ms. Turner.
This is kind of something that's coming out that, you know, like where this come from. Okay, so here it is. We need to do a codification process. And in starting the process, every year for the last 3 years, you all have been budgeting, we have been budgeting $4,000 for a codification process. But we actually haven't sent anything to our person that we need to codify in some time. Back in,
Well, or 10?
2010 or 2011 is the last time we saw that that we sent anything to them. So now we're looking at doing other companies. We need to be able to look at someone, and I know that a lawyer, we agree on this one, we don't always agree, but we agree on this one, that we're looking at using Minicode, not Mini Services that came before us, it's Minicode. This is a state of the art, I'm telling you. It'll help us get everything online, it'll codify it, but we can't start negotiating with a new company when I'm already committed to this company, which we haven't used and haven't said anything to them since 2010. So I'm just asking that we can sever that tie so that I can go forward and start looking at other companies, because I can't actually start even getting recommendations on what the price is going to be as long as I have this in place. So all I'm asking is for giving them 90 days to say, thank you so much, have a nice day.
Okay, anyone have any questions, Councilman? Anyone in the audience have any questions?
This is simply a formality required under the contract.
Okay, may I have a motion then?
I so move.
I have a motion by Councilman Nieto, may I have a second?
Second?
Okay, Councilman Tejada, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Guerrero?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And I want to say thank you, Council. I appreciate that you're receiving more things from recording workers to codification. Lou, this is you. You're up.
Okay. Item 2J, consideration and action to approve long-term lease agreement between the city and the 4A Corporation respecting the use and operation of the Laura G. De Leon Event Center building and real estate site.
Council, if y'all can all check, there's one that I think I put it in everybody's that has a space that has a self from Chris Hug attached to it. Johnny, I think yours was on top of the counter.
Yeah, I know, but I don't remember what I did with it right now.
Here's
You want
another
another
one.
one? Here.
I might have shredded it.
Anybody else need a new one? Save me from asking. Okay, the document you have in front of you tonight is an attempt to put into words what we discussed in the workshop. And I've already sort of previewed this earlier tonight. This is basically to take the Civic Center, Convention Center, Florida de Leon Center and the dirt, and to lease that so that we can satisfy the TACB, Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission requirement number 1, but also to deal with some other matters. And after the first draft went out 2 days ago, Bill Gleason caught a hold of me last night and basically said, Lou, you've drafted a document we can't live with because you're making us pay utilities, you're making us pay upkeep. At the same time, you're denying us the operation, maintenance, and so forth of the building. And more importantly, we've tried it for a while, and we're not making enough on revenues to pay our way. So what we took out of the council meeting, or what he took out of the council workshop, was the TIF model was what was desired. And so we've converted this to a TIF model type approach, and I'll explain from the point of view of my discussion with Victor Quiroga in just a minute. But what you should have in front of you tonight is a revised document that has today's date on the footer. So you're looking at the same document with me. And to cover the 3 things in the document that are most important. Number 1, we're expecting the 4A to go ahead with the money they received from their contract for the recovery on the building and the improvements on the building that they wanted done pursuant to the defects, for them to go ahead with those activities and complete those construction works. So they would be responsible for that. We don't speak to that in the contract, but that's part of the expectation. Number 2,
Shouldn't we speak of it?
we probably should add it now that I've had it forcefully called to my attention that it's a remaining chore. And I would propose that we cover that in the motion tonight, because this is going to go next to 4A. Number 2, we would have clearly the account for the money coming in on the tax to be used to pay and retire the debt. And if there's more than the $15,000, and I want to share this with you, we're making an Austin. We still use papers in Austin, so I was there last Monday.
Not this much.
We don't have an electronic sign-in. When you put the sign-in out there electronically, I'll sign in.
All right.
Okay, this document's to you
Put that
for
on
the,
the agenda.
for the information, and I think you have this over here, Madam Controller. I know it by heart, so. If you look at the lower left on the first page, the way I read that, the maturity is 3/1/2014, we paid $14,000. And at 3/1/2015, we owe $15,000. And at 3/1/2016, we owe $16,000, and we're paying 7.65% on the note for the purchase of the dirt. On the second page, top left, you'll see what we've pledged in the nature of security, and the bonds are special obligations of the Floresville 4A Corporation from and secured by the lien on the pledge of the pledge revenues, and these revenues consist of net revenues from the ownership and operation of the project. Unfortunately, at this point, and for some time, ownership and operation has not provided net revenues. It's actually been a net loss where the city from general revenue has been supporting the Civic Center. B, the 1/4% sales tax levied by the city within the boundaries of the city in accordance with the sales tax remittance agreement dated July 18th, 2007. And we do use that 1/4 cent to support the repayment. And I think if you looked at Ms. Moreno's response to Mr. Nieto earlier and said that $700,000 goes to 4B, it would be half of that goes to 4A. So it looks to me like there's more than enough, at least in theory, to cover these repayments. And so the other part of the motion would be, if you're going to make an amendment tonight, is to specify that any amount above the amount that's actually due and payable under the repayment schedule be put in a tax fund escrow account and set aside for repayment and refinance. With that in mind, the lease provides for the city to take over all operations and maintenance, including utilities, and for the 4A to function as a pass-through agency. And those are my three essential points. We would continue to honor this debt schedule, this program here that we have outlined from 2014 on what's due and owing. And then you have, I think, not only the workshop on the 15th, but a special workshop, I think, Madam Manager, dealing, somebody's going to come from Mr. Quiroga's office, I think it's Victor himself, and work with the 4A on the refinancing and with you and whoever the council wants to meet on that purpose. That may be part of the same meeting you got on the 15th, okay? So we've got some things to straighten out, but the short term is, and this lease is cancelable, if you look at page, renewal option on page 2 is at the top paragraph, by mutual agreement between the lessee and lessor. This lease may be renewed up to 5 times for a period of 12 months each under the same terms and conditions. So this is not a permanent forever lease, but it requires the city to exercise its option to keep it going. So this would at least, for the near term, take care of the relationship that you all wanted clarified and specified and defined between the 4A and the city of Floresville, and principally the city council. And then this would go to their board, from that board to consider.
Can we go back to this report?
Sure.
On that, in the middle of the page to your left, it says paying agent, on the first page.
First page, I'm sorry, let me get that. Yes?
And then right below that, is that the bond council we're talking about?
That's not the bond council we're talking about for the 15th.
Because we
because
just said
he's
earlier
not-
we wanted the same bond council.
I'm sorry?
We just said earlier we wanted the same bond council.
I didn't say that, sir.
We want the same financial advisor, but the
Okay,
bond counsel can be somebody else.
Mr. Avila has gone to the Giuliani firm. He's no longer with Rose Norton Fulbright.
Okay, then look underneath the financial advisor. Is that who we're talking about?
That would not be correct either, because we're now using Victor, who's with Floss
So we're
Bank.
not going to be using the same as we had
No,
discussed.
and this is just the way it is as of 2 years ago.
Right. Well, if we're talking about this, we're going to keep everything the same,
No,
it's not going to be the same in either case.
no. And I'm glad you pointed that out. This is just for the record of, as of 2014.
Okay.
And that's who did the work as it related to the
Yes, I
original
was aware
issue.
of it.
Sir?
I was aware of that.
Okay, but you asked me and I'm trying to answer you, sir.
Look, may I supplement?
Certainly.
On what he said in regards to the sales tax that the 4A is getting, and yes, they are getting half of what 4B is getting. It's about 396,000 a year. And based on the rough calculations that we did with Victor Quiroga, we more or less estimated that the bond payment that is gonna be restructuring will come out like to $600 and some thousand payment a year.
How much?
600 and some $1,000. It's almost 700,000. So the tax, sales tax that is collected or is allocated to the 4A, it is not going to be enough
That's
to
over how
pay
many
that
years?
payment.
Over how many years if we do
Probably
700?
it will be in between 15 to 20,
15 and 20 years.
20 years.
It's
And what I
probably,
wanted to supplement on that is that, and we talked about it, is that we either, general fund will take some of the payment for the bond or increase the sales tax allocation percentage to go to the 4A. Because however, any way you look at it, this debt belongs to the city. So we need to supplement it somehow. And that's one of the things that we're gonna talk about once we do the workshop on the 15th.
That would have to go to vote, but I think look at other options as far as financing goes, as opposed to
Right.
15 years, if it's gonna be 700.
Well, that's-
We look at a different financing option
Right.
to meet our budget.
And I just wanted to supplement what he was talking about in regards to the contract, is that, I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that $300 and some thousand is not gonna be enough to cover for the payment as it is, because he's requesting an escrow account for any remaining funds. There would not be any remaining funds. But-
Quiroga be discussing that too? with us?
Yes, he's gonna give you a full schedule, and that's the reason why we need these workshops, because we need to figure out how we're gonna do these payments, for how many years, and how is it gonna be the best way of approaching this debt.
Like
So then do we need to wait?
Is he gonna bring us options?
He is going, no, he's gonna bring us options.
Did you give
And
us
there's
a, did you give us a
very
worse option right now?
thorough discussion in regards to that.
What we're looking for, council, in this item before you for passing is actually an agreement between the COA and the city of Floresville, so that I can send this on to TABC, so we can complete that licensing process.
Yeah, none of what's gonna happen with the restructuring should affect these. It would just supplement the information, and anyway, this contract can be renewed and updated at a later date if it's needed. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of more information in regards to the date.
Mr. Nieto? Mr. Nieto, the other thing that might happen with your refinancing, lots of refinancing starts with what you've got to pay, as you know, in the car business, and you work it out, and you may end up with a balloon.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's 300 or 350, or it's a growing figure, but it doesn't necessarily meet all the payment requirements, that can be built into the restructuring. All I'm trying to get to tonight is, my observation to respond to Mr. Rodriguez, is that if you look at what's on the schedule now, the figure looks very small as to what we're paying. So there's a difference between 15,000 and 350,000, and to the extent there's any difference, that would go into an escrow account. I'm just trying to account for that interim time.
And then even, another option, and we looked at this before, is, you've got another entity that gets 0.5% sales tax that, this is perfectly in their realm as far as funding.
Correct. And I followed your bouncing ball as you read that, and I understood where you were
Yeah,
going.
so it's,
They could work together.
yeah, we could work together.
Right.
The 4B.
Yeah, it's working.
So, but anyway, my recommendation is to approve the lease for its purpose tonight, to meet the TACB, to provide for the revenue allocation as I've described, and those would be, and let me see if I can't get the motion for you. One is to approve the lease as it's written, with the understanding, and the reason you have the Victor Quiroga letter there in front of you is he and I have exchanged 2 telephone calls and 2 memos this afternoon. The more comprehensive memo that you have in front of you talks about the tax money being the primary payback source, and the fact that we don't have that other payback source because of the expenses. So we would define the relationship as one of, the 4A would be the lessor. They would have no expenses other than the charge to finish the reconstruction. And then the city would assume the operating expenses and whatever we're going to do with the hotel motel tax at that venue, and/or anything with the 4B. And the rest of the relationship would be pretty much a standard lessor-lessee relationship, subject to your notice to renew. It would stabilize and satisfy the requirement of the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission, and it would allow you an interim period during which you can do your refinancing as you need to, with the advice of Victor and bond counsel. So it's an interim device. It could continue, but it's an interim device with you taking, and you have all the books for the 4A already, and you basically have all the operational control of the 4A already. So what we're doing is really formalizing that relationship. So the motion would be to approve this with the understanding as set out in the Victor Quiroga letter, that any money coming in excess of what's due to the bondholders would be clearly escrowed. Number two, that the 4A would complete its reconstruction. And then, once that reconstruction is completed, notify you. And then finally, that board would monitor the incoming taxes and cooperate with the city.
What was the third one?
Complete, well,
No, reconstruction, complete reconstruction.
complete the reconstruction and then monitor quarterly whatever cooperative measures are needed with the city. And I'm suggesting that's the basis for your motion, so that it's clear what understandings we have between us, and that's why I put some of that in the Victor Kuroga letter. And if you'll notice on the Victor Kuroga letter, there's a notations on second page that letter be included in the minutes as one of it.
Okay, one question, based on our vote earlier regarding a possible sports complex, does this resolution hinder anything happening out there behind the event center?
I don't think so, no, sir.
Does it promote
In
it?
fact, it should facilitate it because it puts all the dirt under your control. Okay, and it does something, if you notice, I made reference to an agreement in this other document from, I do not know the whereabouts of the July 18, 2007 interlocal. I did some checking with the Killian firm, and as far as I can tell, that document went around in draft form but never got executed. The interlocal. So that's another reason that approval tonight is important. At least this establishes the relationship.
Mayor, if we're ready, I'll make a motion with the edits that the council suggested. Counselor?
You read all the links, right?
Can I ask a question real quick?